Imagine the softest sheets you've ever felt. Now imagine them getting even softer over time. I'm here to tell you about Boll & Branch sheets. In a recent customer survey, 96% replied that Boll & Branch sheets get softer with every wash. They're made from the rarest organic cotton and designed to get even softer over time. Try their sheets with a 30-night guarantee plus 15% off your first order with code Odyssey. So head to BOLLandbranch.com today. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays. Find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/247 and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
Must be 21 plus and present in Arizona, Colorado, Connecticut, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, permitted parishes only, Massachusetts, Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, or Wyoming. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona, 1-888-789-7777, or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana, 1-800-522-4700, or visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas, 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net in West Virginia, or call 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York, or visit oasas.ny.gov/gambling. Standard text messaging rates apply. Sports betting is void in Georgia, Hawaii, Utah, and other states where prohibited.
Welcome to the PowerCat Podcast, GoPowercat.com's Kansas State Athletics Show. Now, here's your host, GoPowercat publisher, Tim Fitzgerald.
Welcome to the Insiders. Tim Fitzgerald, Tim Everson, Glenn Kinley, Brien Hanley. I've moved the furniture around, and I look really yellow. Hold on. Maybe I need to do that or that. None of it's making a difference. I'm apparently jaundiced, and Glenn is on the face of the sun. So
yeah, I don't know what's going on. I got one. I can show you actually. I got one big light above me, looking straight down at me, and I can't tell. Yeah,
nothing like good lighting from a fluorescent light. Speaking of fluorescent, the other personalities in the room, Tim Everson and Brien Hanley. How are you, gentlemen?
Good.
I'm good. This is very Brady Bunch that we have going on.
I know.
Right?
This is the new look. I've gone to all bottom banners. This is inside stuff, and nobody will care but me. But StreamYard lets you set up, design your own windows, but they limit it at 8. So if I have different setups, I only have so many I can do, and so everything's going to be across the bottom now. But it won't let you fill the screen with 4 like we had before in this setup for whatever reason. So here we are. We're the Brady Bunch. Let's go to Jan right now. Hey, Brien, what do you think? Orlando, expensive bowl, new bowl for K-State, NC State. What are your thoughts on this opportunity for K-State?
I think it's a good thing. I know it's going to be expensive for fans to get there and all that, but I think it's a good thing for K-State to get into Florida to go play a bowl game in Florida. just for exposure alone. You know, it's a state that K-State used to regularly recruit in. We didn't always get the top guys out of Florida, but we got guys out of Florida and guys that end up playing on Sundays out of Florida. Those were things that K-State got. So I think playing a football game down there, even a bowl game like this, where there may not be a ton of fans, not a ton of fanfare, I believe is an outstanding thing. And it's the first time that K-State's ever been to a bowl game in Florida. So that's a big thing.
Really cool. Really cool. Tim, you tried to book airfare today. Did you succeed?
I did it.
Is the Manhattan Mercury bankrupt?
We're, if anyone would like to buy any computers from around 1985, we're trying to get some inventory out to pay for. No, I'm excited personally. I think this is a fun trip. It's a trip that, K-State fans have been. They've been to Houston so much. They've been to Memphis. They've been to Phoenix so much. It's not very often that they get a chance to do something totally different. They got that last year going to New Orleans. Plus, they get an opponent that they've never played before. And so, it's way more exciting than, if they were stuck in Houston and had to play Texas A&M again.
Yeah, that would have been awful. I mean, that would have been awful. I guess there was a window when it looked like Oklahoma might sneak into the New Year's Six that they could have ended up in the Alamo, but yeah, returning to Houston to play A&M for I think it's the 17th time. I've lost track, but yeah, it would have. A&M's not very excited about that. Trust me. I've spoken to their publisher. Oh, we get to stay home again, which is the opposite of having to go to Florida. But yeah. Glenn, will you be
an hour trip, right?
Well, it's just right up the road. It's like if K-State played in the Topeka Bowl.
Which they could, if they wanted to. Homer Sports Park, I think, is open this time of year. So
it's beautiful. Topeka's a 12 months a year kind of town. Glenn, will you be covering, or will your station be covering? This is not cheap. It's not.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's probably on my list of to-dos in the next 10 hours is figure that out. I would think that we're going to go at least, and I think it'll be me, but I'm not positive on that yet. But I don't know. I think I might try to convince him to let me drive down there.
Ooh. Well, that's interesting.
What do you think about that?
It's a haul.
Huh?
That's tough.
Brian, if you get up to Topeka, you can come with.
No, I'm gonna pay. Look, I had my share of driving to Florida when I was at K-State, driving to Panama City. So I did that, and I was 22 years old at the time, and it seemed like it took forever. At 48, I'm 1,000% out. I am out.
Come on, man. I need somebody on the road trip, man.
You don't want to spend 20 hours in a car after, still recovering from knee surgery. You don't want to do that.
Awesome.
It's so weird.
I'll even let you play the music, Brian. You know what? Just sleep on it. Maybe give me an answer on next week's show. You don't need to decide right now.
I got you.
We'll revisit.
Yeah, it's the fact that he'd have to get from Frisco, Texas to Topeka. It's probably just as bad.
Right.
Because it's a much shorter drive, but let's be honest, you end up in Topeka. Don't get in spite of that, Glenn. Your employer's out of Topeka. Let's just lay this out. We're veterans at this. We know all the tricks of the booking trade, and we've suspected this bowl game for since they beat Kansas. And so 3 weeks or so. So we booked Southwest because, it's, if you book the right fares, it's transferable credit. We're going to use Southwest. So we did that. But even doing that, flying early Christmas morning with the two guys I'm sending and coming back the 30th, not the 29th, it was still $500 a ticket. Oh, everyone says, well, fly into Melbourne, fly into Atlanta, fly into folks, everything. Everyone's trying to get to the southern United States this time of year, and every airfare right now, basically one leg on Southwest into Orlando. The first leg is like $770, just a leg, just to get there. So it's not cheap. It's a mess, but it'll be a fun experience. And now, more importantly, let's move on to the football aspect. But first, a reminder, this is the Insiders, the K-State Insiders. We're going to talk about football and basketball and bowls and the transfer portal. We're going to get into everything that impacts the Wildcats. And if you're not subscribing to this YouTube channel, please do so. If you're not subscribing to GoPowercat.com, they snuck a 60% off sale on me, and I didn't know about it till this morning at 24/7 Sports. So go do that. You can get, if you missed the 75, let's be honest, 60% isn't much different. You suck at math. You don't understand, but it's still a good deal. And hit that thumbs up if you're enjoying the show and leave comments. We have nothing in our comments right now since the show started, and I'm hurt. I'm damaged.
I thought everyone was going to compliment my new setup, man.
It's beautiful. You got out of the hospital and you're in now a containment box.
I thought people were going to congratulate me on finally getting out of the hospital weeks later. But
it kind of looks like they've moved you from the hospital ward to the mental ward, and you got padded walls. Congratulations.
You can't prove it. You can't prove that.
No. Look, there's a good reason why a lot of K-Staters want to go to this game, Brian, and his name's Avery Johnson. And it's not just him. It's going to be some other young guys. It looks like Ben Sinnott isn't playing. Hi, Chase. Thanks for leaving a comment. And, there's just going to be a lot of young guys on the field, but it starts at quarterback. People are intrigued by Avery Johnson, and his talent is so tangible that Will Howard left. And I don't mean that as an insult. That's just the truth of the situation. Everyone in Veneer knows this is a mini Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes situation. I mean, right. I'm not comparing talent here. It's the similar situation. The veteran knows, got to move on because the young guy's going to play. But that playing now starts in Orlando. And I, for one, am fired up to see what the result of that is.
Yeah, I think a lot of K-State fans are. I know a lot of K-State fans are a little panicked because guys are jumping in the transfer portal, but I wouldn't be panicked. I think it's going to be fine, but I'm really excited to see what I'm really, I guess I should say, more excited to see than anything is Avery throw the football.
Yeah.
That's what I am really excited to see is him throw the football. We know he can run it. We know he's going to run it. There's going to be aspects to all of that, but I'm excited to see him throw the football down the field, down the middle of the field. It's not that he can't. We just didn't see that.
Yeah. Oh, the few times they'd let him do it, he did it well.
Exactly.
That's why I didn't understand why they were so gun shy with him against, later in the season. Tim, he showed he could do this. Yeah. I have no worries about him throwing the ball. Do I expect him to make mistakes? Yeah. I watched a bunch of games on Saturday against teams in conference championships with veteran quarterbacks making mistakes. There will be mistakes. It's part of the game.
No, absolutely. And I'm excited personally because it's throwing the ball. It's having the full, they said when, going into the season, Avery has the full command of the offense. He can do anything, but we never got to fully see that. And then versus Texas Tech, they found what was working and then they just pounded it into oblivion with the quarterback run. But now he's going to have the entire bowl prep as the number one guy. He's going to get all the number one reps. He's going to get all nice and comfortable. And I'm excited. I think it's going to be, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun for K-State fans.
It will be. Glenn, it's cool. And I mean, not to put pressure on your bosses, but getting some of that, what do you call it in the business? B-roll on Avery is kind of important, isn't it?
Or VO, if you want to call it that. Yeah. No, I mean, I think if I'm a K-State fan, I'm not too worried about necessarily, not that it doesn't matter. Like, obviously you'd love to see him win the game. I more so just want to see this potential, like, really show up, and if Avery makes some mistakes, I'm okay with that, but let him loose, maybe get a couple of those younger wide receivers in there. We know Jace Brown will be on the field, maybe a couple other guys, but let him loose and let him really take control of that offense, do some things that maybe you wouldn't have done with Will. And I'm excited to see that. Now, like, it's not going to be perfect, but I think there's a good chance we watch this bowl game and we, K-State media and K-State fans and K-State alums are really excited for 2024. I think that's the goal. By the end of this game, you want to say, hey, you may even say, hey, that wasn't pretty, but it might be pretty by the time we get to September, right? I think that's the goal in this one. And you will see some new faces. I mean, we mentioned the portal, but Will wasn't the only guy to leave, right? And so you might see, but behind DJ Giddens. Maybe some other guys get snaps at running back. Defensively, some guys hit the portal. I'm with Brien, not too really worried about it. I think a lot of those were probably mutual decisions, if I had to guess, that it wasn't like K-State was begging those guys to stay. And probably a good sign, not only at quarterback, but at running back, that K-State has a lot of trust in DJ Giddens, and he proved himself this year, and that he's kind of the guy back there moving forward.
Yeah, nobody's talking about that. We find out today the third stringer's going, Frias. So, yeah, they'll have to lean on freshmen to back up DJ Giddens. They love this freshman class. And we saw some guys play this year, not named Avery, that were effective. Jace and, the Romaine at linebacker. There were some guys in defensive backfield. It's a significant class. They got a lot of dudes that can play. So I'll be interested to see how much they turn them loose. I'll be interested to see if any other seniors say, you know what, I'm going to sit this one out. And technically Ben Sinnott isn't a senior. Academically, he is. And he's already declared for the Senior Bowl, which means he's leaving. So that doesn't surprise me. Cooper Beebe will play. That doesn't surprise me either. He just wants to play. He's just like, he loves pancakes. He loves pancakes. And oddly, there's not like a pancake flavored Pop-Tart, which makes no sense. Are we doing breakfast or not?
They might need to work on that. Yeah, and I think with BB, it's as much about he loves to play, but he loves those guys on the line. I figured they would probably all play because, if we're being honest, those guys just want to spend 4 more weeks together. Like those guys just love each other. I think they love Connor Riley, and Connor Riley was probably like, "Come on, guys, let's hang out for a few more weeks." So that's huge news for Avery Johnson, though, too, right? Like to have that veteran O-line of guys who have been at K-State like a combined 38 years or something like that up front. I mean, that should be a benefit for him.
Yeah.
You offensive linemen are weird, Brien. You got to be to do the job. You get no glory. And when you screw up, you get yelled at it and everyone sees it. The replay is, oh, yeah, that left guard missed a block. The only one with the worst life on a football team is a snapper. Gets no recognition for doing his job, but boy, does he get tormented when he screws up once. But yeah, it just goes with the business, isn't it? You become a fraternity of sorts, don't you, Brien?
You do. It's like I said, it's a non-glamorous position. So you just kind of you bond together. And that's kind of where the bond is that you understand that you're not going to get any glory. You get a ton of blame, but it is what it is. You just have to bond together. Our glory always came in the film room, watching, because pancakes and all that kind of stuff, it's kind of been more commercialized now. But back when I played in the late 90s, it wasn't so much. So getting in the film room and watching that stuff, we used to have a ball watching all that stuff and laughing. Or what was really funny, you see an offensive lineman pull and they trip over their feet. Now we would have a ball at that, just laughing at each other. So it's good camaraderie. So I can imagine those guys all wanting to play together one last time just so they can be together for a while.
I have the dogs in the studio today, and there was an attempted theft of trash going on behind me.
Yes.
Becky's out of town for the week, so I'm stay-at-home dog dad.
Who's watching you then?
No one. You know what? 5 years ago, I wouldn't be doing this show. I'd be in Aggieville on a Monday afternoon.
Left you unsupervised.
But now, due to aging and other circumstances, I am gonna just do nothing. I'm going to be good at it. Let's talk about an important topic that I addressed in today's daily delivery, the actual Pop-Tarts. I'm intrigued by this. Tim, do you, as an adult, sort of, do you eat Pop-Tarts?
Not regularly, no.
No. Glenn, do you?
On occasion.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
I would say maybe once or twice a month, maybe.
Wow.
We have them in the company kitchen here at work, so if I don't have time to grab food, I just go back there and it's like one of the things I can.
That's a perfect lead-in. That's a perfect lead-in to where I'm going. Brien?
I'm thinking about the grocery store.
Yeah. How about you? Pop-Tarts?
No. I've probably had 3 in my life.
That's where I think I am. I think I distantly remember as a child having 1 or 2. But
oh my gosh, that's so sad.
I know. Well, I'm from the hard streets of Salina, man. It was rough.
You couldn't get your hands on Pop-Tarts.
No. I could probably got my hands on a handgun, but not a Pop-Tart. Jerome Tang just admitted they have Pop-Tarts in their break room at the basketball office, and not just because of the bowl. They've had them in the past, and he was befuddled by my source for today's DD picking the s'mores Pop-Tart as the top Pop-Tart. I'm disturbed that most of the Pop-Tarts now aren't fruit flavored. They're weird stuff. Like
they got some weird ones now. They have like the originals, and then I kind of put them in two categories: the originals and then kind of the new ones, which are weirder. I usually stick the originals though.
So with that in mind, I will refer to this game as the Tangerine Bowl. I'm sticking with the original. I see a viewer from UCF Weekly will be there. His commute is going to be much easier than everyone else's, I would assume. Of course, he still has to deal with Orlando traffic.
Turns out, actually, he just said that he would host Brien and I as long as Brien road trips with me. So,
yeah, well, that's interesting. I haven't caught up to that one in the chat.
I keep waiting in the pot for you, Big B.
It's getting more interesting.
I tell you what I would do, though. I would go to the doctor and get a catheter put in.
And just drive straight through.
We'd leave Topeka and we get to Kansas City. I'm like, Glenn, I got to stop. I think I can make it to Columbia from here. It just wouldn't be pretty. Wouldn't be pretty. I have not done my research on NC State. Our Ryan Wallace at GoPowercat has posted something about NC State. I need to really dig into him. But let's just throw this open. I watched a good part of the ACC title game. Brien, you're a Louisville guy. I'm not blown away by the level of football. I'm just not. And granted, Florida State has a quarterback injury. We all know about that. The committee knew about that. They were clearly the best team, I think, in the conference with the quarterback. But I feel like anyone out of the ACC right now is a favorable matchup, even if you're playing a true freshman quarterback.
Yeah, NC State is – I mean, Louisville played them, so I watched the game. I think it was a Thursday night. They played NC State or Friday night, one of the two. And NC State's a tough team. Their defense is tough. Now, I say defense is tough compared to Louisville's offense. And if you watch Louisville's offense on Saturday, you know that not very good.
He took two sacks on fourth down.
Yeah, just horrible.
I didn't even have a dog in the fight. And
I mean, just despicable quarterback play. I mean, you're lucky I have a television left because I was throwing things. I mean, it was unbelievable. But this is definitely a favorable matchup. Now they're going to be they're a well-coached team. They're not going to commit a ton of penalties or anything like that. They play tough. They're going to play physical, just not necessarily as talented in all aspects. And the quarterback play is iffy. So I think it's a favorable matchup for K-State. We're going to have to play on offense, though. Now, their defense is okay. And it's tough. So we're going to have to play on offense, which I think is good. If we're playing Avery, I think it's great that we have the offensive line there, because trying to just throw a bunch of young guys out there to say it's a throwaway bowl or it's a bowl game to get guys reps, I don't know if you want to do that against an NC State defense.
Yeah.
But I like K-State's matchup.
On the flip side of that, Brien, I would say from a perspective of can they win maybe a favorable matchup, from the perspective of like who did you want to play, I don't know about you guys. When it came down to, I think McMurphy reported it was going to be Notre Dame or NC State, and I was hoping they would get Notre Dame, just from the perspective of almost a brand and a reputation. If they would have got Notre Dame, you could have said the last 3 years, K-State played LSU, Alabama, and Notre Dame in its bowl game. That's pretty good company. Now you can look at the outcome from the Alabama game and say, well, how'd that go? But still, that's pretty good company to say, hey, look who we match up with in the postseason. And NC State, no disrespect at all, but I don't think if K-State wins the game, it's going to be people are big. Oh man, now look at K-State. They beat NC State, man. Like what a win, So I would have loved to see them play Notre Dame. I think that would have been a lot of fun. But I think this could still be a lot of fun. I'm not saying it won't be.
Yeah,
I mean, I would have loved to play Notre Dame. I was actually, to be honest, and I was hoping they played Louisville. I knew that wasn't really a strong possibility just for my, own selfish take. But I think NC State, it'll be fine. People on the East Coast know a little bit more about NC State. I think it'll be better for K-State to maybe brandish out there a little bit. I don't know that we're going to start recruiting in North Carolina or anything like that, but we can in Florida. So I just think the bowl game, the overall game is going to be good for us.
For anyone confused, Brien Hanley did play at Kansas State, but he's from Louisville.
Correct.
So this has been his lifelong thing. We can't explain the Steelers.
Can we get is it Louisville? Louisville?
Louisville. It is Louisville.
Louisville.
Here's the thing. I say Louisville so people know who the hell I'm talking about. If I don't say that, nobody's going to know.
I see.
Mush it all together, Louisville.
Yeah. Because
or you could go with Louisville. That's always a popular.
Illinois.
Tim, let's move on to another topic, the Will Howard lottery. And look, let me be clear. K-State fans at times were very upset with Will Howard's play. But if you watch the games on Saturday, you have a better idea where Will Howard sits in the quarterback pecking order. The two kids from, playing in the Pac-12 championship are Heisman contenders. They're elite. They were really good this year. They made mistakes in their game, but they're both very good. But the talk is will pull at minimum $1.5 million from an NIL deal from a school. And I just spoke of Oregon and Washington. They are both involved with Will Howard, as is USC, Wisconsin, Kentucky. Who am I forgetting? Miami. And K-Staters know Miami has NIL money. They packed it in someone's pocket, if you know what I mean. And the schools are lining up. A veteran quality quarterback in an NIL marketplace is a valuable commodity. Tim Everson, are you shocked at all that he is so wanted out there in the college football world?
Not at all. I knew. I think we talked about late in the season, if this was a possibility, he would be a valuable commodity because of his experience, because of his success, because of his skill set, because of his leadership abilities. I mean, he is, let's say, for instance, a school picks him up and God forbid he would get hurt in the spring or whatever, doesn't play. He is such a valuable part of a locker room that, I'm not saying that's, worth $1.5 million, but still, I mean, it's value add in almost every aspect. No, I mean, he is going to, and I'm super happy for Will that he is being courted to this level that head coaches from very prestigious universities are flying their butts to Manhattan, Kansas to talk to him. I think that's wonderful, and it's what he deserves. It's what he's worked for, and I'm going to be incredibly interested to watch him wherever he ends up next year.
I agree. As long as it's not a few handful of schools, I will be on board watching him whenever. I really sincerely like Will Howard. I think he's a good person.
Yeah.
He's an emotional person. And we've seen that play out. At the end of the Iowa State game, he was emotional. At the end of the Oklahoma State game last year, he was on cloud 9 while the students were carrying him off the field. So he was pretty close to the clouds. And he's an up and down character, but he's also, as Tim said, a good locker room guy. And he has helped Avery along, knowing that this would probably be the result. And I think in some ways the coaches rewarded him by, I don't want to say shelving Avery, but saving Avery in case they really needed him. They weren't just going to say, Will threw an interception, let's put the other guy in. They weren't going to do that as the season progressed, which maybe was wrong, maybe it was right, but it was loyal. And Brien and Glenn, I'm a little bit confused, though. Some of these schools he's looking at, including USC, have their own Avery Johnson. They have that freshman or redshirt freshman that is the heir apparent, and yet he's still considering going to these schools. Is that something he needs to worry about, or is it just going to come down now to money?
Well,
because he needs to show something too.
If I'm Will, though, I'm not that there aren't a lot of other factors. Not that he can't beat out a good quarterback for the job because he can. But if I'm him, I want to go somewhere where they're going to tell me I'm the starter, right? Because if I'm him, I'm kind of sick and tired of backup Skyler for a while. Then they bring in Adrian, and then you're on the starting job. But then Adrian's back from injury, and then you're the starter. But everyone loves the 4-star freshman, and then he looks pretty good. I'm tired of it, man. Like, let me go somewhere where they say, we want you to be our guy. You are our guy. And I'm not saying he needs to go somewhere where they, the backup quarterback's a walk-on or something, or where they don't have like another viable option. But I don't think, and I could be wrong, if I'm him, I don't want to get into a quarterback battle, No. Although, with that being said, he seemed to have thrived in those, right? When his job's in jeopardy, that's when he seems to play the best football. So maybe that's why a school does want him, even if they might have another quarterback. But I'll be interested to see if that weighs into his decision. I mean, ultimately, maybe we won't know other than looking at where he picks and who else they have at quarterback. And we've also seen more so in basketball probably, but we've seen times where a guy commits from the portal and then there's a guy that leaves because of that, And so maybe that's something we see. He might commit somewhere and we say they already have a quarterback, and then that guy leaves when Will commits. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing is, if he's trying to go to a big time, K-State's a big time Power 5 program. If he's going to go to where somebody else has a quarterback and battle for the job, he should just stay to K-State. That's the first thing. Unless you're right, Fitz, it's about money. So if it's just about money, which I don't begrudge anybody for going and get money. I don't care what it is. If somebody's offering you money to go do a job and you love that job, then you go take the money. Period. Point blank. That's just my personal opinion. But if he's going to go and do that and battle it out with somebody, then just stay at K-State where you're comfortable. Or maybe he's going to go try to enhance his profile and do something different. I don't begrudge him for that either. But I don't think that there's a couple of these places, and I can just name the names. I don't think these are Will Howard fits. Miami is not a fit. First of all, their head coach is horrendous. Second of all, that is not a fit. He's not getting better there. At USC, the backup or the freshman in there, he's not beating that guy out. I mean, we can say all those things. That guy is the guy. I mean, he was the top-rated quarterback in the country last year. He's coming to play. So that's not a good fit for him going to LA. Some other places, though, I like Kentucky, even though I can't stand Kentucky. Let me make that clear. But Kentucky is a good spot for him. Kentucky they've come under the, you know what? Yes, we want to recruit guys. Yes, we want to bring guys in. But Kentucky's under the, if we can get a transfer in that can come in and play for 1 year, we will absolutely do that. We'll figure out all the other pieces. But if we can get a veteran guy to come in and replace, and they've done it the last 2 years or 3 years, they've been fine. So that's a good fit for him. And there's a couple other places that are good fit for him. So I like what Will's doing. And just like you said, Tim, I couldn't be happier for him getting out there and getting this opportunity to go and be courted, should you say, nationally, getting his name out there, because everybody's talking about Will Howard right now. I'm not saying he's the number one quarterback transfer. I'm not saying that, but everybody has his name in a list, and it's good to be on a list sometimes.
Hey, and you know how this needs to end. A year from now, the bowl games come out, and K-State's going to match up with Will Howard in the postseason. That'll be fun. On the first part that you're talking, Brien, I think if he does go somewhere else and get in a quarterback battle, if you want to call it that, I think it still is a little bit different than if he would have stayed at K-State, because he can win the job, and he might be the new highly rated, flashy quarterback from the portal. I don't know if it was an option at K-State, simply because if he would have started next year, I think he would have gotten booed when he went on the field. And I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that he should have. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not going to take a stance, but I don't think it was really an option. And I think he knew that. I think he knew it was just time to move on for his own sake and for the fans' sake. And maybe he goes somewhere else and he is in a quarterback battle, but the quarterback battle, the fan base actually isn't rooting that hard for the other guy to win that quarterback battle.
I don't know. Depending on where you go, he goes there and flops. And I'm not wishing that on him, but if you go to a certain fan base and you flop and they got a flashy new quarterback behind him, you don't think he's getting booed there too? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
and correct me if I'm wrong, but in that list of schools, I think Louisville is one of the schools that was listed also.
They are
being interested. I think that would be an incredible fit. I think Jeff Brom is the perfect guy for Will.
I mean, I'll say that if Will's the quarterback at Louisville on Saturday, Louisville wins the football game.
I agree.
I mean, that's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If Will is the quarterback at Louisville on Saturday, they win.
Yeah, but
and they've got some flashy quarterbacks at Louisville too. They got like 9 of them, literally 9 quarterbacks on the roster. I think they have 6 on scholarship. So Jeff Brom doesn't care. He has embraced this a 1-year deal. I got to build my team 1 year at a time. I don't care who the quarterback is. The best guy is going to play that gives us the best chance to win. And if Will's actually wanting to get better as a quarterback, there's not a whole lot of people out there better than Jeff Brom.
I agree. You're watching the Insiders from GoPowercat.com. Those are the Insiders. You can see them. Their names are on the screen. They're all really good people. I wouldn't hang out around with idiots. An important update from the Cats and Dogs studio. Dude did indeed succeed at stealing out of the trash can, but was caught for the second dip.
Oh, no.
Yep. That's an important update. Let's take a quick break here. Very quick for everyone on YouTube, but we will be back on the other side.
GoPowercat.com's PowerCat podcast continues after this short break.
Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Welcome back to the PowerCat podcast.
And welcome back to the Insiders as we continue our discussion of the transfer portal, Will Howard, and all that goes into it. I did leave off of school, and I didn't do it on purpose because I'm intrigued by this. Nebraska is also involved with Will Howard. There's a lot of talk up there. And, of course, Adrian Martinez has started his coaching journey back at Nebraska. A little bit surprising with some of the treatment he received up there, and now that it's a different coaching staff than he played under. But they are close. And I can see that being a comfortable place for Will. It's not far from his friends at Kansas State. It's a program that won't play Kansas State unless it's a bowl game. Nebraska in a bowl game. That's funny. And I think there's a great opportunity there for him to play in a part of the college football landscape, because there won't be a Big Ten West next season. They're getting rid of divisions. But the region of the Big Ten in which he'll be competing is trash, is absolute trash. Iowa just won that division with no offense and a quarterback that looks a lot like Ben Roethlisberger minus any talent. And so I think the opportunity for Will Howard at Nebraska is real. If he wants an opportunity to play and be successful, I think Matt Rule's an incredible coach. That might end up being the place if they can come up with the money. It was Matt Rule who flat out said, we've got to have $1.5 to $2 million to get a high quality quarterback out of the transfer portal. He's the one who spilled the tea on this one. You know, it's like, that's what the marketplace is deeming. And that message wasn't to us. That message was to his boosters. You want a quarterback? Here's the price tag. And apparently it sounds like maybe they met it. Tim, how would K-State fans feel if the player to be named later in the Martinez-Warner trade was Will Howard?
It would be very funny. I mean, just on the face of it, it would be a very funny situation. I think they'd be happy for him. I mean, I think there may be some fans that still are that really enjoy watching the downfall of the folks up in Lincoln that will not love the fact if Will Howard comes in and, you know, gives Nebraska their first 9-win season in like 10 years. You know, that probably would not be I don't know. There's some, but I think in general, most would enjoy that. Most would be happy for him, and the poetry of the entire situation, I think, for me is too good to pass up if that does happen.
Brien, just go get just do you. You know, that's where I'm at with this. Whatever you need to do at this point, Will, go do it. And I think people misunderstand the transfer portal. Some guys leave because they're unhappy with their situation. Some guys just know they need to do a next step in their progression, and that's Will. And some guys are ushered into the portal. We're not happy with your performance on the field. We're not happy. We're not seeing the growth. You gave up in the last game after a season that was, kind of up and down anyhow. You're really talented, but if you're not invested and you don't want to grow and be accountable to learn, then there's no room. Yeah, I'm talking about Will Lee there, and I am. The portal goes both ways, Brien. Fans need to understand that. Coaches benefit from the portal, not just because they can bring kids in. They can usher kids out now without feeling guilty that they pulled their scholarship. You're in the portal. Everyone knows it. If you're worthy of a scholarship, someone will give you one.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I love that aspect of it too, Fitz, because it's just what you said. A lot of fans just think, oh, kids are moving around and kids, they're doing this. And I'm like, look, coaches can do the exact same thing when it comes to the portal. I just think it needs to be embraced. Do things need to be tweaked? Of course they do. I mean, but you tweak everything every year, but at the same time, the transfer portal has brought Kansas State some good stuff. Let's just be honest. It's brought us some good things, and it's going to continue to bring us some good things. And if we continue to embrace it and go out and get guys, I think we got to do a better job at going out and getting guys and attacking it more. But if we do that, then it's a good thing, because the one thing I know, if we'll get left behind if we don't start doing that. And it's not going away. That's the one thing. It's not going away. So good for Will Howard. Go out there and just be selfish. And I think Kansas State also needs to be selfish.
Yeah. Everyone's got to look out for their interests. But, Tim, any of us who covered that Iowa State debacle, not a debacle for Iowa State. They were brilliant. A debacle for Kansas State's defense. I'm actually I can't believe Will Lee's the only one. I mean, there's some other guys that I questioned how much effort they were putting in. Ooh, it's snowing. Play football, man. You're a football player. Get out there and tough it out. And if you've had a history of blowing assignments and maybe not learning, Will Lee was on the field because his upside is enormous. That's why teams or schools are lining up. Hell, they were lined up before he was in the portal. Shame. But he has a huge upside. He will be tempting. People will take him. But for K-State, the clock ran out, man. You had your chance here. And yeah, we might be better if you blossom, but we're going to put our energy into someone else. That's the reality of college coaching. They got young guys they believe in. Put your energy in them.
And with the history that this coaching staff has of finding guys in the defensive backfield in the portal, guys like Russ East, guys like Julius Brents, guys, there's 6 or 7 of them that have came here and flourished. Maybe they feel like that's just a space that they can find a equal or better at. And I don't know. I certainly was excited whenever he came to campus from whatever JUCO he came from. I thought he had a lot of promise. Physical gifts were out, out the door. But I don't know if I've seen a performance that bad in quite some time. That we saw in Iowa State. The push into the end zone will be forever remembered.
Infamously remembered. And guys,
well executed.
Game. You've seen guys like. We saw it from other teams in Manhattan this year when they were down by 35, and you saw some poor effort. But K-State was 30 yards away from winning that football game. That's what was crazy to me from that. But the biggest problem here is that it was really fun to say Will Lee Wildcat.
I know.
You don't get to do that anymore. Unless he goes to like Northwestern, we could still say it.
Willie getting into Northwestern. Stop. Stop. Maybe Villanova.
The one thing about it is, and I've seen it, and we've all seen it. Sometimes it just doesn't click for a guy.
Yeah.
Sometimes it just doesn't click. They can be super talented, and regardless of whatever, they come in and they're playing, but it just doesn't click. It just doesn't turn all the way over. And that's what it seemed to be. I don't want to get on a Will Lee bashing trip.
No, I don't
But
either.
it just didn't turn all the way over. And sometimes it's better to go a different direction. And I think that's what we see here. But let's just be honest. I mean, you could see he was checked out before the Iowa State game. I don't care what anybody says. And there's several people that are like that. Several people, not just K-State, all across the country, guys, that are like that. They know they're going into the portal. They're starters. Before that last game, they are checked out. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to think, and for people to think that it's just a Kansas State problem or something like that. It is not a Kansas State problem. It is all over the country. I mean, just think about you as an individual. If you were quitting a job and in your last day before you put in your 2-week notice, you're checked out too. So these are the same thing. What do you expect kids to do? So, it's unfortunate, and it came in a horrible performance. Jiminy Christmas, but it is what it is. We got to move on.
Hey, let me ask you guys this question. I was thinking about this the other day as I think Wildcat fans, a lot of guys hit the portal. I don't think it's a concern. I think it's okay. Who are the guys on your list? And I got 4. I'll give you mine, where you say, okay, I actually would be concerned if we lost that guy. If that guy hits the portal, then I'll allow the Kansas State fans to panic. I would say Avery Johnson. I would say Jace Brown, DJ Giddens, and Desmond Purnell. I think those are my 4. I'm not saying they don't have a lot of other very valuable players, but those are my 4 where I would say I would be concerned if we didn't keep those guys.
Agreed. And you're talking about guys who are regular players with ongoing eligibility.
Right.
I mean, if you got a guy that's going to be a senior that hasn't fully invested himself, even if he's a starter and, his talent is obvious, but he's not bought in, there's a layer here we haven't discussed. We don't know what these guys are like in the locker room.
Exactly.
Brian, if you got one guy in your locker room who's a pain in the ass, who is talking trash to his teammates and isn't a positive, and I want to be clear. I don't know this is Willie at all. I'm not saying this is.
Sure.
But that is a level of this that we don't understand and we don't grasp. And you know what? That's not something typically they'll share with the media, even off the record, because that's like in the inner sanctum. You don't get to know the inner sanctum. But boy, the coaches know the inner sanctum. And if you're not a good part of that, you're going to be on the outer sanctum.
You kind of know that too. And without them telling you, when you have a guy that's playing and they leave, or somebody that you think should be playing and isn't, and then all of a sudden they leave, something's going on, and I'm not saying that there's bad people or anything like that, but something is going on, that while they're leaving for that reason. But, the locker room is a big thing, and no coach wants their locker room being killed by somebody that's leaving. And I think the better that you can keep people and keep the culture within your locker room, the better off you're going to be, because the transfer portal, like I've mentioned several times, it's not going anywhere. So you're going to have to build it every year. Well, you can't just build a culture overnight. That doesn't happen. K-State fortunately has a culture that guys have to come and fit in, and if they don't, we've seen them. They come in and they leave immediately. This isn't for me. Or the coaching staff is like, absolutely not. You're out of here. We're not going to let one. And I think K-State, the coaches do a great job of one person. They're not going to let one person come in and spoil it. Sometimes coaches will let some guys come in and this. K-State says, not here. Not one guy is coming in and destroying anything. You are out. I commend them for that. I wish more teams would take that attitude. I think it would build stronger men and stronger individuals if more people did that and had some more accountability. But that's the one thing that I admire so much about this coaching staff is the accountability to culture, and it just teaches young men, we're not messing around here, man. Yes, you're here to play football. Yes, you're here to go to school, have an education, but you're also here to grow up to be a man. And we're teaching that. And a lot of places don't. K-State does. I love it.
Let me wrap up this topic with this thought. I'm not a big Sark fan. I don't know. I've seen him. Some of his behavior kind of turns me off. But we can all look at Texas and wonder why, with so much talent, is this the first time you won this conference in 14 years and the first time you've been in this playoff? And Sark addressed that on Saturday or Sunday, excuse me, when discussing what changed. It was the locker room. He flat out said it. We've always had talent here. We had to change the culture of the program. We had to have players that loved each other and loved the result of the team, not the individual. And they've done that. And that's a powerful thing. If Sark does that and maintains that in the SEC, they are going to cause a lot of problems. They will be competitive in the SEC game in and game out. And I commend him on that. Next topic, Tim Everson, Kansas State basketball wins 2 games in overtime against ORU, North Alabama. And I didn't know North Alabama existed. And they found a way to win. And that, at the end of the day, it's wins and losses. But they haven't looked polished. Villanova has looked polished and then got polished by 2 teams from Philly over the weekend in the whatever that Philadelphia thing is, the
Big Five.
The Big Five. I was going to say the murderous 5. Coach Stang talked about it and said the refs are scared. It's Philly. The refs don't call anything because they're scared. But Villanova is a really good team. Your thoughts on the Tuesday night matchup at Bramlage Coliseum between these Wildcats?
It's a big opportunity for sure. I mean, it's been a lot of I don't know if maybe it's just been a focus thing. They've had 3 games against 3 kind of no-name lesser, although they haven't really looked lesser opponents. And, it's in a weird part of the year. You see the Big 12 just around the corner and you're just kind of languishing in these games. I don't know. I don't know if that plays into it at all, but Villanova is a team that they can beat if they play up to their up to where they should be playing. But like Coach Ting said after the win against North Alabama, if they play in the first half Tuesday like they played on Saturday, they're going to find themselves down like 30 at halftime. Yeah. So I mean that's the thing. They gotta find whatever this weird first half shooting bug, whatever thing. It has to end. You can't have a team that Jerome Tang has said multiple times before the season that this was the best by his practice metrics, the best shooting team that he's ever had. You can't have that and then be, set like in the 100s ranking as far as like shooting percentage from 3. You can't let that. It cannot happen. I mean, there's other problems too, but that is the biggest one that if it were fixed, this team would look infinitely better.
Brien, you're a former basketball player. And my thought on the shooting is if you're wondering if the ball's going to go in, it's not. I mean, no. The true shooters, like a Marquise Noel, it's going in every time. It doesn't, but they think it is. They're confident it is. Sometimes it comes off your hand and you're like, oh, crap, that thing's going to kill a cheerleader. But they're confident. I see Tyler Perry thinking about it too much.
Yep, absolutely.
Should I take this? Is this what I need to do? Do I need to pass? At the end of the game, he's just in, let's win this damn game mode.
Yeah.
And he needs to get back to just playing ball. Don't get weighed down by everything you need to do. Just slowly learn how to do everything you're expected to do in this system as a point guard. But go play, man. Go have fun. Be loose.
Well, that's the thing, is being aggressive is going to change a lot of that, because when you're not aggressive and you're passive and you're thinking, okay, I got to get everybody else involved. Well, you know what? Sometimes as a point guard, you can do your thing. And if you're doing your thing, it will come. Everybody else will come because people will start helping and guys will be open. It's not always, okay, I'm just setting this guy up, or I got to get the ball over here, or I got to get it inside. You can't force things like that, and I think that he's thinking about doing that to a fault. He's trying to help. He's trying to do the right things, but it's what you said. It's just to a fault. You cannot force action as a point guard if it's not natural. Just play the basketball game and allow things to come to you. And if you're forcing stuff, or I shouldn't say force, but if you're being passive to an extent to try to get other teammates involved, that will hurt the basketball team. They need you to be you. And if you are you, everything else will fall in line.
When you were recruited as a basketball player out of Louisville, were you a point or an off guard?
I was an off guard and a small forward.
Okay.
I played that. I mean, I played point guard my sophomore year in high school and led the state in assists, but we had 5 other guys that played Division I basketball. So it was easy for me. Yeah. I just, and I could shoot it. So guys would get him up on me, and I'm like, okay, well, I'll drive around you. I'm passing this guy for a dunk or passing that guy for a dunk. So it made my job a heck of a lot easier. Plus, my coach wanted to play at a light speed. So we were averaging like 85 points a game. So it was up and down the court. It was great.
Tim, my issue with Tyler is not that he's missing shots. I mean, he's horrible in the first half. Let's be blunt. I'm not sure he has point guard DNA. I mean, he's not been a point guard. He's been a scoring guard. And there's something to be said about, a kid that grew up playing the guitar and has always played the lead guitar is going to be different than trying to make the bass player play lead guitar. Does that make sense? I just don't know that he has that background in being a point guard.
Yeah. And you'll have to tell me if this comparison is apt, because
It'd be worse than one I made.
I seem to remember there was a point in which Jacob Pullen was asked to take on more of a point guard role after being a 2 and having a lot of success as a 2, and that took some doing. I wonder if that's just the case, if it is just it's so different from what he's used to, and maybe they need to just have Cam, run that, or once they get Wes Glover back, have him be the more traditional point and move him over. They need to do something to free him up, because I agree that it seems like he is really doing his best. I don't know. It seemed like when Marquise Noel, first of all, you're not going to find a better passer in college basketball. He just naturally had that. But also, they had to rein him back from just bombing it everywhere. And then even then, his senior year, it was just like, okay, we trust you to know which crazy shots are good crazy and which crazy shots are bad crazy. And then even after that, sometimes it wasn't 100% on the level. I don't know if they just need to give Tyler that level of trust, that level of like, just go do what you do, and we will kind of form around you. I don't know, because they don't really, there's no identity right now for this team. They're still kind of amorphous and weird. Sometimes the posts are super good. Sometimes their best post player sits on the bench for the entire game. It just seems like they're really having trouble figuring it out. And I'm sure it hasn't helped that maybe 2 key pieces that they thought they were going to have still have not played yet for varying reasons. So I don't know.
I think when it comes to Tyler, he's him, and to use the comparison to Marquise Noel, they're just wired differently, right? Like Marquise was a guy who was going to create and pass and run the offense, and as a result of that, he got shots. And it feels like Tyler is a guy who has always gotten shots, and as a result of the shots, he's been able to also then create when they put all the attention on him. And so then when he's trying to be that creator first before the scorer, that's when you're talking about, Fitz, when that takes more thought from him, and that's when you can see that he's not just playing; he feels less comfortable.
Well, as we wrap up this edition of the Insiders, Troy Ace, you got a great question, but we're at the end here.
We got breaking news on the Insiders.
Yeah, well, no, he just he wants to know if Nate Matlack is training. I don't know anything about Nate Matlack.
He is, according to your own Ryan Wallace.
Oh,
wow.
Well, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, there we go. I should probably check my own damn website.
I told you, is this our first breaking news on the Insiders?
Yeah, I'm not prepared for it. That's a shame. That one doesn't raise the level of Glenn's list, but that one is interesting to me.
Mm-hmm. Surprising.
Very interesting.
I'd say it's just off the list, but yeah, I mean, it's maybe it speaks to how good GDOBI's are is. I mean,
yeah, maybe they got some young guys and everything.
I don't think this system fits him, to be honest with you guys.
Yeah.
3-3-5, this system doesn't fit what he does on a football field. So while I don't want to lose him because I think he's very, very serviceable, what he does and can do, he's a 4-3 defensive end. That's what he does. If he puts on some more weight, or he's a 3-4 outside linebacker. But in the 3-3-5 at playing defensive end, that doesn't suit his best, for what he does. It doesn't suit him.
No. And you know what? I've had a lot of people ask me, and that was the first part of Troy's question that I honestly missed the second part about Nate. Do you think they'll change defensive schemes? No, this isn't a scheme issue. Yeah. This is fitting for the Big 12. This is an issue of guys not fulfilling their assignments.
Correct.
That happens if you got 4 down linemen. And also, that makes your recruiting even more challenging if you go to needing 2 interior defensive linemen because they're so hard to find.
Correct.
This system allows them to stick with 1. They did play with undersized defensive ends. This wasn't a 3-4. This was a 3-3-5, and this is meant to be light and fast. Does it give you some issues sometimes against power running games? Absolutely, but that's a risk worth taking in the Big 12.
But also, I think the defense was pretty good, really. I mean, there were times where they could have been better, but I mean, I look at the TCU game and the Houston game. Those teams weren't good, but their offenses were pretty solid, and they hardly did anything. I think they allowed 3 points combined in those games.
The problem for the defense wasn't talent, wasn't scheme. It was sometimes doing the right thing at the right time. They had guys that just didn't do their job. And we're seeing some ramifications of that. I'm sorry to see Nate go. He's a great kid. But that's college football. That's college athletics right now. Kids can move on so easily, and they might be graduating. I don't know. I'm not sure. It gets confusing with COVID and red shirts and all that. Who's where? So we'll see how that pans out. But that's it for this week's edition of the Insiders. K-State, Villanova tomorrow night, Tuesday night at Bramlage Coliseum. It better be packed, or Jerome Tang won't be the only one on the warpath about that. I'll join him. I'll be unhappy. Don't make Fitz unhappy. And don't give them Pop-Tarts. They're not very good. We appreciate everyone watching. I always forget to get this ready to go. Appreciate everyone watching. Thanks to the fellas. Glenn, thank you. Get to your meeting. And we are out of here.
Thank you for listening to the PowerCat Podcast. Make sure you're subscribing to our show at Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you get your podcasts.
With Blue Link Plus, you can access your Hyundai Tucson Limited remotely. Doors unlocked, temperature set, lost car found.
There it is.
Get complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.
Hey there, it's Gary Parrish with the Eye on College Basketball Podcast, part of the CBS Sports Podcast Network. We are still in the early weeks of conference play, which means there's no better time to tap in. Every Sunday night and Wednesday and Friday mornings, you can expect an episode in your feed highlighting everything you need to know from the sport of college basketball. Conference races, bracketology, coaching rumors. We'll talk about it all and be there with you at least 3 times a week as March Madness approaches. It's the Eye on College Basketball Podcast. To find us, search for Eye on College Basketball in your podcast app of choice.